Wild Hogs in America. A tale of chaos, chuckles, and epic battles. Wild hogs, also known as feral pigs or boars, Suscrofa, aren't just a headache for the United States. They're the rock stars of destruction, turning cornfields into war zones and farmers' dreams into nightmares. These troublemakers aren't native to America. They're uninvited guests from Europe who decided to throw the wildest party ever in the land of the free. With an estimated 6 million hogs rampaging across 35 states, Texas being their unofficial capital, aka Hogzilla Central. Their story is equal parts epic and downright hilarious. So, buckle up as we dive into the origins of these wild hogs, the chaos they unleash, and how humans are trying to tame these bad boys of the backwoods. With a few laughs along the way to keep things light, where did these hogs come from? A comedy of historical errors. Wild hogs didn't just sprout up in America like dandelions. They're the result of some laughably bad decisions from centuries past. The saga kicks off in 1493 when Christopher Columbus, the OG explorer, brought 8 pigs from Europe to Cuba. The plan? Raise them for bacon to feed his crew. But these pigs had other ideas. They weren't about to be anyone's pork chop. They bolted, launching their own great American hog venture before humans even got their bearings. Picture Columbus staring at his empty pig pen, muttering, "Well, I guess I just unleashed an ecological disaster. Oops." Fast forward to the 16th century, and another Spanish explorer, Hernando de Soto, decided to up the ante. In 1539, he hauled pigs to Florida, thinking, "These'll be great for snacks on our road trip." Spoiler alert, pigs don't play nice. Some escaped, others were left behind when his expedition fell apart. These runaway porkers turned into wild warriors, breeding faster than a viral TikTok trend. If De Soto were alive today, he'd probably shake his head and say, "Why didn't I just stick to beef jerky?" The plot thickens in the late 1800s when European hunters decided to spice things up. Bored with chasing deer, they imported Eurasian wild boars, possibly from Germany's Black Forest, to hunting grounds in New Hampshire and beyond. These guys were like, "Deer are so last century. Let's hunt some hardcore hogs." The imported boars hooked up with the local feral pigs, creating a super tough, super rowdy hybrid, like mixing Monster Energy with espresso. These hogs didn't just survive. They conquered every terrain from dense forests to wide open prairies. But here's the real kicker. Some of America's wild hogs started as farm pigs. Back in the day, farmers let their pigs roam free, like giving them a gap year to find themselves. Some of these pigs went full rebel, ditching the farm life for the wild side. Within a few generations, they grew bristly hair, sprouted tusks, and became legit wild hogs. Imagine a farm pig looking in a puddle, saying, "Screw this, I'm going full Mad Max." This going feral process turned cuddly porkers into a gang of chaos-causing hogs ready to rumble. Genetically, wild hogs trace back to Southeast Asia from the early Pleistocene, spreading across Eurasia and North Africa. The ones in America are descendants of European boars and domesticated pigs, packing a genetic combo that makes them tougher than a $2 steak. In a funny way, they're like ecological superheroes minus the capes plus a whole lot of attitude. Humans can only sigh and say, "Hogs, why you gotta be so good at surviving?" Today, 6 million wild hogs are tearing it up across 35 states, with Texas as their main stage. That's more fans than a Taylor Swift concert. They're not just wildlife. They're the ultimate nightmare for farmers, hunters, and anyone who just wants to hike without a hog chase scene. The havoc of wild hogs, living plows, and epic pranks. Wild hogs aren't just numerous. They're the kings of chaos with a rap sheet longer than a summer blockbuster. They breed like crazy, outsmart traps, and wreck everything like they've got a personal vendetta. Here's a rundown of their greatest hits, with some jokes to keep you grinning through the madness. Economic damage. Hogs, crushing farmers' dreams since 1493. Wild hogs are nicknamed living plows because they love digging up dirt for snacks. They turn cornfields, wheat crops, and soybean patches into post-apocalyptic wastelands, leaving farmers ready to cry into their overalls. Experts estimate they cause $2.5 billion in damages yearly to agriculture, forestry, and livestock. That's enough cash to buy a private island, or at least a really nice tractor. Texas farmers probably have nightmares of hogs laughing maniacally, chanting, "Your crops are ours." But wait, there's more. Hogs don't stop at crops. They smash fences, wreck irrigation systems, and even mess up roads and levees. Imagine spending all weekend building a shiny new fence, only to wake up and find it trashed because a hog gang decided to throw a midnight rave. They don't just destroy, they do it with style, like they're auditioning for a disaster movie and yelling, "This is our turf, humans." Environmental impact. Hogs, nature's worst landscapers. Wild hogs are an environmental wrecking crew. Their digging sprees erode soil, wipe out native plants, and turn habitats for deer, elk, and birds into barren moonscapes. The mud and poop from their redecorating pollute rivers and lakes, making water sources grosser than a gas station bathroom. If there were an award for worst landscaper ever, wild hogs would win it hooves down. They also gobble up food that native critters need, leaving deer and squirrels whining, "Hogs, can you at least leave us some acorns?" Spreading disease. Hogs, germ-spreading party animals. These hogs aren't just vandals, they're walking biohazards. They carry diseases like brucellosis, which causes fever and weight loss, leptospirosis, which can mess up your organs, and streptococcus suis, which might land you in the hospital with meningitis if you eat undercooked hog meat. It's like they're throwing a germ party and everyone's invited, whether they like it or not. They also pass diseases to livestock, making ranchers want to scream, "Hogs, you're killing my vibe and my cows." In rural areas, spotting a hog near your cattle is enough to make you lose sleep for a month. Baby-making machines. Hogs, the ultimate family planners. Wild hogs breed so fast it's like they're competing for a world record. Sows can get pregnant at 6 months, popping out 6 piglets per litter and managing 1.5 litters a year. Do the math. One pair of hogs can spawn a whole hog army in a few years. With no wolves or bears to keep them in check in most of America, they're living their best life. If hogs had a dating app, their bio would read, "Loves long walks, digging, and making lots of babies." They're the ultimate family planners, just not the kind humans appreciate. Danger to humans. Hogs, the forest's toughest gangsters. Hogs don't just wreck stuff, they can throw down. With razor-sharp tusks, boars will charge if they feel threatened. Hunters have shared stories of sprinting from angry hogs, feeling like they're in a low-budget horror flick. Hogs also wander into suburbs and highways, causing accidents and chaos. Picture cruising down the road when a hog darts out. Your only thought is, "Bro, are you training for the Olympics?" Eating hog meat that's not properly cooked can also make you sick, turning a barbecue into a trip to the ER. Messing with wild hogs is like picking a fight with the forest's toughest gang. Fighting back. Humans versus hogs, the ultimate showdown. Americans aren't letting these hogs run the show. They're fighting back with everything from guns to gourmet recipes. But hogs are smart, making this battle feel like a chess match against furry grandmasters. Here's how humans are tackling the hog invasion, with a side of humor to keep it fun. Hunting and trapping. Hogs, you can't outrun us forever. Hunting is the go-to weapon against wild hogs. In Texas, it's open season year-round, with hunters using rifles, bows, and even helicopters. Yep, picture a cowboy in a chopper yelling, "Yeehaw, hogs in my sights." Ranches like Broken Arrow in Texas trap hogs and sell their meat, turning a pest into profit. New Mexico dropped $1 million on hunting and trapping programs. That's enough for a blockbuster called Hogpocalypse Now. But hogs are sly. If they escape a trap once, they're like, "Nice try, humans. Catch me never." Turning hogs into dinner. From foe to food, some clever folks are turning the tables by eating the enemy. In Austin, places like Die Do restaurants serve up hog meat as a sustainable delicacy. It's like saying, "You wrecked my farm. Now you're my pulled pork sandwich." But the meat has to be carefully checked to avoid diseases. Nobody wants a side of brucellosis with their barbecue. This approach is peak. If you can't beat M, eat M. Though the hogs probably aren't thrilled about their new role on the menu. Research and management. Outsmarting the smartest hogs. The USDA and wildlife experts are working overtime to outweed these hogs. They're testing high-tech traps, sedatives, and even hog-specific poisons. But hogs learn fast, dodging traps like they've got a PhD in evasion. Scientists are probably like, "Hogs, did you take an IQ test behind our backs?" States are also educating folks, urging them to report hog sightings. It's a team effort. Farmers, hunters, and researchers uniting like the Avengers to take down Team Hog. Cultural impact. Hogs, the unlikely pop culture icons. Wild hogs have become more than just a pest. They're practically celebrities. In Texas, hog hunting is a full-on lifestyle, with TV shows, YouTube channels, and even festivals celebrating the chase. Think Duck Dynasty, but with more tusks. Social media is full of hog hunting memes, like pictures of hogs with captions like, "When your boss says dig deeper," but you take it too literally. Some folks even call hogs the ultimate survivalists, admiring their grit while cursing their chaos. It's a love-hate relationship, American style. Economic opportunities. Hog hunting, a booming business. Believe it or not, wild hogs have sparked a mini economy. Guided hog hunts are big business, with outfitters charging hundreds for a weekend of tracking and shooting. It's like a safari, but instead of lions, you're after a 300-pound porker. Meat processors are cashing in too, supplying hog bacon and sausage to adventurous foodies. In a weird way, hogs are creating jobs. Though farmers might say, "Great, but can they stop trashing my fields first?" Wrapping it up, hogs, a hilarious lesson in nature's revenge. Wild hogs in America are a wild ride of a story, from Columbus's runaway pigs to today's 6 million strong hog army. They trash crops, ruin ecosystems, spread germs, and give humans a run for their money. But they also remind us, mess with nature, and you might end up with a tusk-wielding problem. Americans are fighting back with hunts, traps, recipes, and a surprising amount of hog-inspired humor. This isn't just a wildlife issue. It's a comedy, action, and drama rolled into one, starring the toughest critters in the woods. So, here's to hoping we can laugh about wild hogs one day instead of yelling, "Not the hogs again!" Wild hogs in America. Environmental chaos, disease disasters, and a hilarious fight for control. Wild hogs, aka feral pigs or boars, Suscrofa, aren't just a thorn in America's side. They're the ultimate pranksters of the animal kingdom, turning pristine landscapes into pig pens and giving farmers, wildlife, and even suburbanites a run for their money. With 6 million of these tusk terrors tearing through 35 states, Texas being their unofficial headquarters, think Hog Central. They're not just a pest. They're a full-blown saga of destruction and dark comedy. Below, we'll dive into their environmental havoc, disease-spreading antics, explosive population growth, and the human counterattack, all spiced up with some good old American humor to keep things from getting too grim. Let's roll. Environmental impact. Hogs, nature's lousiest landscapers. Wild hogs are the archenemies of ecosystems everywhere. With their relentless digging, they churn up soil like overzealous bulldozers, causing erosion and wiping out native plants faster than you can say, bad landscaping. Habitats for deer, elk, birds, and other critters get turned into something straight out of a post-apocalyptic flick. Think Mad Max, but with more mud. The churned-up dirt, mixed with hog poop, washes into rivers and lakes, turning clean water into a nasty stew nobody wants to drink. If there were an Oscar for Worst Environmental Designer, wild hogs would be strutting down the red carpet, tusks gleaming. These hogs are also food hogs, pun intended, scarfing down everything from plants to bugs to small animals. They're like the ultimate buffet crashers, leaving native species like deer, squirrels, and rabbits whining, "Yo, hogs, can you leave us a crumb or two?" Their eating spree throws ecosystems out of whack, making life tougher for every critter trying to survive. Picture a squirrel shaking its tiny fist at a hog, muttering, "You're not invited to my acorn party, pal." To make matters worse, their digging disrupts soil microbes and nutrient cycles, which is science speak for they're screwing up the dirt in ways we can't even fully explain. In places like Texas wetlands, hogs have turned delicate marshes into muddy messes, threatening endangered species and making conservationists pull their hair out. It's like the hogs are saying, preserve nature? Nah, we'd rather redecorate it, hog style. Spreading disease. Hogs, germ-slinging party crashers. Wild hogs don't just wreck the land. They're like walking petri dishes, spreading diseases that make both humans and animals wish they'd never met. They carry a nasty lineup of bugs, including brucellosis, which hits you with fever and fatigue, leptospirosis, which can trash your liver and kidneys, and streptococcus suis, a real charmer that can cause meningitis if you chow down on undercooked hog meat. It's like they're throwing a germ rave and handing out free tickets to everyone. Humans, cows, you name it. In a twisted way, they're the worst kind of doctors prescribing misery without a license. Nobody's signing up for that appointment. Ranchers are especially fed up, as hogs spread these diseases to livestock, tanking profits and stressing out entire herds. Imagine a farmer spotting a hog near his cattle and yelling, "Get out of here, you furry plague machine." In rural areas, a single hog sighting near a barn is enough to keep folks up at night, wondering if their animals are next. And it's not just farm animals. Hunters and hikers can catch these diseases from handling hogs or wading through contaminated water. One wrong step in a hog-tainted stream, and you're Googling, "Why do I feel like death?" The kicker? These diseases can linger in the environment, making hog-infested areas a long-term health hazard. It's like the hogs are leaving behind a parting gift. Thanks for hosting us. Here's some bacteria to remember us by. Public health officials are constantly on alert, warning folks to steer clear of hog meat unless it's cooked to a crisp. Forget medium rare with these guys, unless you want a side of hospital stay with your bacon. Population explosion. Hogs, the baby-making MVPs. Wild hogs breed so fast, it's like they're auditioning for a reality show called Extreme Family Planning. Sows can start popping out piglets at just 6 months old, cranking out 6 babies per litter and managing about 1.5 litters a year. Do the math. One hog couple can spawn a whole hog dynasty in a few years, like a furry version of a family reunion gone wild, without natural predators like wolves or bears in most of America. These hogs are living the dream, multiplying faster than gossip at a small-town diner. If they had a motto, it'd be, "Make babies, make chaos repeat." Their baby-making prowess is why controlling them feels like trying to bail out a sinking ship with a teaspoon. Even if you trap a bunch, another litter's already on the way. It's like they're mocking us, saying, "You thought you got us? Meet our 12 new kids." In states like Texas, where hog populations are densest, farmers joke that you can't turn your back for 5 minutes without a new hog family moving in. If hogs ran a business, they'd be the world's top baby factory, churning out piglets like nobody's business. Danger to humans. Hogs, the forest's meanest bouncers. Wild hogs aren't just destructive, they're downright dangerous. Armed with tusks sharper than a chef's knife, boars will charge if they feel cornered, turning a peaceful hike into a scene from Jaws. Hunters have swapped stories of sprinting from angry hogs, hearts pounding like they're in a low-budget thriller. One guy probably swore he heard the hog growl, "You're in my woods now, buddy." These attacks, while rare, can leave folks with serious injuries and a lifelong fear of anything with bristles. Hogs also love crashing the suburbs, wandering into backyards or darting across highways. Imagine cruising down the interstate when a 300-pound hog bolts out. You're slamming the brakes, yelling, "Dude, are you late for the Hog Olympics?" These run-ins cause accidents and rack up repair bills, not to mention the sheer panic of dodging a tusk tank. And don't even think about eating hog meat without cooking it to oblivion. Raw or rare hog is a one-way ticket to Germville, with diseases like brucellosis waiting to ruin your day. Bottom line, picking a fight with a wild hog is like challenging a biker gang to a duel. Bad idea. Fighting back. Humans versus. Hogs, the Great American Showdown. Americans aren't sitting back while hogs turn their land into a pigsty. They're hitting back with everything from high-powered rifles to high-tech traps. But these hogs are smarter than your average critter, making this fight feel like a chess match against furry Einsteins. Here's how we're tackling the hog invasion, with a dose of humor to keep it lively. Hunting and trapping. Hogs, your days are numbered. Hunting is the frontline defense against wild hogs. In Texas, it's open season 24/7, with hunters wielding rifles, bows, and, get this, helicopters. Picture a cowboy in a chopper, shades on, yelling, "Time to send these hogs to bacon heaven." Ranches like Broken Arrow trap hogs and sell their meat, turning a nuisance into a paycheck. New Mexico shelled out $1 million for hunting and trapping programs, enough to fund a Hollywood blockbuster called Hogmageddon. But hogs are crafty. Escape a trap once, and they're like, "Nice try, humans. I'm basically Houdini now." From foe to fork, eat your enemy. Some clever folks are flipping the script by turning hogs into dinner. In Austin, restaurants like Die do serve up hog meat as a gourmet treat, proving you can fight pests and eat well too. The menu might as well read, "Wild hog," from crop wrecker to mouth-watering barbecue. But this meat needs serious vetting. Disease risks mean you can't just toss it on the grill half-cooked. One wrong move, and your farm-to-table meal becomes a farm-to-hospital nightmare. This approach is pure genius. Can't beat 'em? Eat 'em. Though the hogs are probably grumbling, "We didn't sign up for this." Research and management. Outsmarting the brainiac hogs. The USDA and wildlife experts are pulling out all the stops, testing smart traps, sedatives, and even hog-specific toxins. But these hogs are sharp, dodging traps like they've got a degree in tactical evasion. Scientists are probably muttering, "Did these hogs ace an IQ test we don't know about?" States are also rallying communities, urging folks to report hog sightings like they're spotting UFOs. Farmers, hunters, and researchers are teaming up like the Avengers, ready to take down Team Hog. It's a full-on war, and we're not backing down. Cultural phenomenon. Hogs, America's unlikely superstars. Wild hogs have gone from pests to pop culture icons. In Texas, hog hunting is a lifestyle, spawning TV shows, YouTube channels, and even festivals. It's like Duck Dynasty with more tusks and testosterone. Social media's buzzing with hog memes. Think a hog pic caption, "When your therapist says dig deep," but you take it literally. Some folks even admire hogs as ultimate survivalists, though farmers might add, "Yeah, survive somewhere else." This love-hate vibe is peak American, only we turn a pest into a celebrity. Economic boom. Hogs, fueling a wild industry. Hogs are accidentally boosting the economy. Guided hog hunts are a hot ticket, with outfitters charging big bucks for a weekend of tracking and shooting. It's like a safari, but your trophy's a grumpy pig instead of a lion. Meat processors are cashing in, churning out hog bacon and sausage for adventurous eaters. Even taxidermists are getting in on the action, stuffing hogs for proud hunters' man caves. Farmers might grumble, "Great, but can you pay for my trashed fields?" Still, hogs are creating jobs in the wildest way possible. Community efforts. Hog-free zones? Coming soon? Local communities are stepping up, forming hog task forces to patrol and protect their land. Schools are teaching kids about the hog problem, turning it into a science lesson with a side of action. Some towns even host hog rodeos, where locals compete to trap the most hogs, think county fair, but with more mud and squealing. These grassroots efforts show America's grit. We're not letting a bunch of pigs run our show. Plus, it's a chance to bond over a shared enemy. Nothing says community like a hog hunting barbecue. Wrapping it up, hogs, a riotous reminder of nature's revenge. Wild hogs are America's wildest soap opera, turning fields into chaos, spreading germs, and breeding like they're on a mission to take over. They're a living lesson. Mess with nature, and you might get a tusk tornado in return. But Americans are fighting back with hunts, traps, recipes, and a surprising amount of hog-fueled humor. From environmental disasters to cultural icons, hogs are rewriting the rules of wildlife drama. Here's hoping we'll one day chuckle about these furry fiends instead of shouting, "Not the hogs again!" Until then, keep your boots on and your wits sharp. Those hogs aren't messing around. The sun blazed down on Magira, Italy, a merciless furnace daring us to brave the untamed wilds. The wild boars here weren't just hogs. They were titans, ferocious beasts with eyes like glowing coals and cunning that made them seem like specters stalking the forest's edge. To the farmers of this rugged land, they were a curse, a relentless plague that tore through fields, shredded pastures, and crushed crops under their iron hooves. Each dawn revealed fresh scars on the earth. Each night brought sleepless dread as families watched their dreams, sown with sweat and hope, reduced to ruin. Children went hungry, and elders whispered of a time when the land was theirs. But today, a band of fearless hunters, led by a farmer whose heart burned with defiance, roared, "No more!" Rifles gleaming, ammo heavy in their packs, and resolve forged like steel. They marched into the jaws of danger to slay the beasts that haunted these woods. We split into tight-knit teams, slipping silently into the boar's domain, where every shadow pulsed with menace. The air was thick with the musky scent of earth and pine, but a sharper edge, a primal whiff of peril, clung to our skin, setting our nerves alight. Our hunting dogs, their eyes flashing with untamed zeal and noses quivering, forged ahead through twisting trails. Each step thrummed like a heartbeat, each glance a silent vow to face whatever lurked beyond. These boars were no ordinary foes, clocking speeds near 30 miles an hour, with instincts honed sharper than a razor. They'd vanish at the faintest crack of a rifle, melting into the trees like phantoms born of the forest itself. Then, like a bolt from the heavens, the dog's barks shattered the silence. A deafening war cry, a wild boar erupted from the brush, a juggernaut of raw power, its tusks gleaming like daggers under the sun. The leader, his nerves forged in fire, snapped his rifle up, tracking the beast's frenzied charge. Bam! The first shot tore through the air, grazing the hog's flank, sending it stumbling. Bam! The second struck, and it bellowed, a guttural roar of pain and fury. One final shot, bam, and the bullet found its mark, felling the monster in a heap of dust and rage. The team exploded, shouts ringing through the canopy, hearts pounding with a primal rush. We claimed our first victory, a blood-pumping triumph, but a quiet voice in our souls whispered, this was only the beginning of a war against the wild. The forest we'd started in was too cramped, its shadows too shallow to hide more boars. Undaunted, we pressed on to a new battleground, a scarred stretch of land where these hogs reigned like tyrants, their hoofprints a map of devastation. The air stank of boar filth, a sour tang that twisted our stomachs, but our eyes burned with focus, scanning for the slightest hint of movement. Andrew, the leader's lifelong friend, his voice taut with unease, hissed, "Something's out there." And then, like a thunderclap, a colossal boar burst from the tall grass, its red eyes blazing with a hunger to destroy. Our hearts slammed against our ribs, but the leader stood firm, unshaken. He fired, the shot splitting the air, but the hog was a blur, dodging the bullet with unnatural speed. The miss was a bitter sting, a wound to his pride. "Never again," he growled, his vow a sacred oath. Moments later, redemption loomed. Another giant boar emerged, its bulk a challenge to our courage. With the focus of a hawk, he fired. Bam! One flawless shot, and the beast crumpled, its reign ended. The team roared, a wildfire of pride blazing in our veins, our spirits soaring like eagles. As the sun sank, casting long shadows across the land, we shifted to an ambush, our hearts still racing from the day's battles. Perched on high platforms, we clutched our rifles, ears straining for the faintest sound. The air hummed with life, as if the forest itself held its breath, waiting for the storm to break. Only the whisper of leaves and the thud of our pulses pierced the stillness. Then, a crack of twigs and the guttural snorts of boars ripped through the calm, a harbinger of chaos. Bam! Bam! Shots blazed, and the woods ignited in pandemonium. The herd scattered, their squeals a desperate chorus of fear. And then, a behemoth of a boar fell under our barrage. Andrew's voice cracked with awe. Holy crap! We nailed it! We stood rooted, hearts pounding, stunned by the speed of our triumph. The leader flashed a grin, his voice low. Skill gets you far, but a sprinkle of luck seals the deal. Dropping a boar with one shot is a marksman's dream, a pinpoint strike to the head or neck. But even the grizzled veterans among us know, it's like hitting a bullseye in a hurricane. Wild boars aren't just beasts. They're a scourge, a relentless force that devastates farmers' lives. They churn the soil to chaos, obliterate grazing lands, and leave harvests in tatters. Worse, they breed like an unstoppable plague, each sow spitting out up to 12 piglets twice a year, their numbers swelling like a tidal wave. Local officials have thrown everything at them. Traps, sturdy fences, toxic chemicals. But the boars just sneer, their population surging as if to taunt humanity's efforts. We're out here not just for the thrill, but for a cause that cuts deeper. To shield the fields, to preserve the dreams of farmers whose desperate pleas echo through these hills, their voices heavy with the weight of loss. At dawn's first light, the sun spilled golden rays through the trees, bathing a small forest in a glow that felt almost sacred. But the tension was a living thing, coiling tight like a spring ready to snap. We moved fast, rifles primed, eyes glued to the dogs sniffing the earth with relentless focus. Every second of waiting was torture, our hearts hammering like war drums. Then the dog's barks split the sky. A boar charged, a freight train of wrath and muscle. The leader tracked its path, his aim steady as stone. 2 shots slammed into its hide, making it lurch with a bone-chilling roar. The third shot was a thunderbolt, dropping the beast in a cloud of dust. We shouted, joy bursting like a river through a broken dam, our spirits lifted by the rush of conquest. This forest proved too small for more boars, its quiet deceptive. We moved to a new stretch, where their tracks gouged the earth like battle scars. As we stepped from the woods, another boar appeared by a babbling creek, clawing for freedom. The leader drew a deep breath, his hands steady as granite, and fired. One clean shot and it collapsed lifeless. Across the creek, a gentle hill loomed, cloaked in dense, head-high brush, a boar's paradise. His hawk-like eyes caught every flicker of a leaf, and soon, a dark shape slithered through the undergrowth, a predator in its own right. Shots cracked like lightning, one grazing the hog. It spun, wild with panic, and bolted a few yards before crashing down, rolling through the brush in a symphony of snapping twigs. We forged on to another forest, a notorious haunt where boar herds roamed like marauders. The instant we arrived, the dogs caught a scent, their barks slicing through the stillness like a blade. A pack of hogs lurked in thick brush, and the tension was a physical weight, pressing down as if the forest itself was watching. The leader fired a burst to flush them out. The herd erupted, grunting and squealing, a tidal wave of chaos. In the madness, he spotted one hog cowering beneath the trees, thinking it could outsmart us. No chance. He aimed low, fired, and sent it sprawling with a single deadly shot. Pride roared through us like a wildfire. Our bond as hunters forged anew in the heat of battle. We plunged deeper into the forest, where sunlight fought to pierce the tangled canopy, casting eerie patches of light and shadow. Less than half an hour later, a monstrous boar emerged, its bulk a living nightmare, as if the forest had birthed a demon. We hunted into the late afternoon, the sunset's golden fire painting the woods in hues of glory. On a trail winding out, we braced for one final stand. Suddenly, a boar tore across the path, a dust storm in its wake. The leader swung his rifle and fired. It dropped like a stone. Before we could catch our breath, another charged. One more shot, and it hit the dirt. The silence afterward broken only by our laughter, raw and triumphant. The battle shifted to a snow-swept wilderness, where hunting boars became a crucible of courage. Deep hoofprints in the frozen earth screamed of danger, each one a challenge etched in ice. Every shot was a heartbeat, felling hogs in a deadly ballet that tested our souls. Our sharpshooting and unbreakable spirit turned this journey into a saga for the ages. The first snow had buried the land, transforming it into a desolate, icy void. But the cold was no match for the boar's defiance. A shot split the air, and a hulking shadow fell, tumbling down a slope, slamming into pines, unleashing a cascade of snow like a white avalanche. Far off, our dogs surged forward, a fearless arrow chasing a giant boar into an open field. This was our moment. A rapid volley roared, and one by one, the fierce hogs dropped, their bodies steaming in the frigid snow. This hunt was a hymn to bravery, each note struck with precision and heart. The herd was charging toward a dense forest. We devised a plan, sealing every escape route with the precision of wolves. Our breath froze into clouds in the biting air. Firing too soon could lose us the prize, so the leader waited, still as a statue, his eyes burning with purpose. The boars closed in. One perfect shot thundered, and a colossal hog collapsed. Its massive frame sprawled across the snow like a fallen titan. One after another, they fell, their reign ended. Despite the merciless winter, victory warmed us like a hearth's glow, a beacon in the endless white. After days of howling blizzards that locked us in place, the skies cleared, the sun's soft light a fleeting gift. The snow lay thick, a challenge to our resolve. After a grueling 20-minute trek, we spotted a herd slogging toward the mountaintop, their breath steaming in the chill. Among them, a dominant boar towered, a king of the wild, daring us to take it down. A single shot rang out, ending its rule. At the peak, another herd emerged, their tracks carving bold lines in the virgin snow, a call to battle we couldn't ignore. A 650-foot shot was a test of skill and nerve. The leader adjusted his scope, drew a steady breath, and tamed his racing heart. Through the lens, he locked onto a massive hog, its presence a challenge to his very soul. He and his teammate fired as one. The shots shattered the mountain's sacred silence. The boar lurched, then fell, a vanquished giant, while the rest of the herd fled in terror into the forest's depths. As we turned to leave, the dog's frantic barks erupted, a final rallying cry. We snapped into position, eyes cutting through the frost with deadly focus. A dark shape exploded from the brush, a last stand of wild fury. The leader pulled the trigger, and the boar's charge ended in a heartbeat. The hunt was done, the snow strewn with fallen foes. The bone-chilling cold couldn't touch us. Our hearts blazed with the fire of triumph. Every chase, every shot, was a chapter carved into the legend of this unforgiving wilderness. Yet beyond the horizon, new battles loomed, and we stood ready, our spirits unyielding, to meet them head-on. Welcome to a story filled with wild adventure and deep emotions. Today, we're going to explore one of the most intense and captivating survival battles between man and nature, wild boar hunting in Texas. This is not just part of a long-standing tradition in the area. It has become an urgent necessity as more and more wild animals are posing a direct threat to crops and people's way of life. Life in rural Texas is closely tied to the land and nature. People here don't just rely on the trees, soil, and crops. They also have to face challenges posed by the very nature they live alongside. Wild boars, strong and intelligent creatures, are no longer a rare danger for Texans. They've become a haunting presence, an unavoidable part of life for thousands of people in this state. In recent years, wild boars have grown into a major threat for rural communities in Texas. Every night, as darkness falls, these wild boars storm across cultivated fields, destroying crops and attacking livestock, disrupting the lives of thousands of farmers. But why have they become such a serious threat? Texas enjoys a mild climate, with winters that aren't too harsh, and an abundance of food sources, especially in its forests, grasslands, and agricultural lands. This has created the perfect environment for wild boar populations to thrive. The lack of natural predators has contributed to their explosive growth. Over the years, their numbers have skyrocketed, and they've invaded areas where they were rarely seen before. Agricultural lands, once peaceful homes for livestock and crops, now suffer massive devastation from this wild species. Why have wild boars become such a huge threat? These boars don't just destroy trees. They also dig up the soil, ruining cornfields, barley fields, and other crops. They dig the earth in search of food, damaging irrigation systems, and turning the land barren. Meanwhile, livestock like cattle and sheep aren't safe from their attacks either. A herd of wild boars can tear through fences, attack livestock, and even threaten humans. These dangers create enormous tension in the daily lives of Texans. Thousands of hunters, from everyday rural folk to seasoned professionals, know that their lives and the lives of their loved ones depend on protecting their crops and livestock from these animals. Hunting wild boars has, therefore, become an integral part of their daily existence. It's not just a task, it's a matter of survival. As the sun sets behind the hills, a group of hunters prepares for the hunt. They're not just carrying guns. They're equipped with essential tools like flashlights, thermal imaging scopes, and, especially, their hunting dogs. These dogs, trained from puppyhood, play a vital role in helping the hunters track and corner the boars. The hunting community believes that the coordination between hunter and dog is the key to success in this endeavor. The hunters begin their journey, and the brave dogs take the lead, sniffing the air and barking in the darkness, marking the location of the boars. These dogs, like coonhounds or catahoulas, are indispensable companions to the hunters. They're not just tools to aid in the hunt. They're loyal partners, willing to face danger just to protect their masters. Every time a bark echoes through the night, the hunters feel their hearts race. They know that the battle is about to begin. The hunt becomes increasingly tense as the wild boars move swiftly through the forests and fields. At this point, every step, every trace on the ground carries significant meaning. A small clue, a broken twig, or a fresh hoofprint in the mud is crucial for the hunters to pinpoint the boar's location. Wild boar hunting in Texas is not just about grabbing a gun and waiting. It's an art, a delicate balance of skill, instinct, and patience. This becomes even clearer when a large boar emerges from the brush, sprinting across the vast fields. The dogs chase after it, their paws thundering on the ground, their barks never ceasing. The hunter must stay focused, no distractions allowed, because even the smallest mistake could cause them to lose their shot. Every step in the hunt is soaked in sweat. The hunters must be patient, moving slowly, their eyes fixed on every trace. They listen to the wind, the rustling leaves, and every sound in the forest that might give away the boar's position. These creatures are smart and quick. They can sense the presence of humans and will change direction in an instant. When the boars are finally cornered, the tension reaches its peak. The dogs rush in, driving the boars into a small area. The hunters move in, step by step, their hearts pounding in their chests. Their eyes are locked on their prey. Every movement, every response from the boars is a potential turning point. A single shot rings out in the quiet forest, and the boar falls. The hunt is over, but the tension lingers in the air. This hunt is not just a simple victory. For these hunters, it's a sacred duty to protect their families and their livelihoods. They don't rejoice in killing a wild creature. They're relieved to have protected what's most precious to them. But this battle doesn't end when the boar is downed. After every hunt, the hunters look back at the fields that have been ravaged. These are the lands they've worked tirelessly on for an entire season, now left in ruin. Wild boars don't just destroy crops. They bring public health risks, like African swine fever or leptospirosis, which can spread from wild animals to livestock and even to humans. We can't forget the hunting dogs, the unsung heroes of this battle. Despite the exhaustion after a long day of chasing wild boars, they never leave their master's side, always loyal, always ready for the next fight. Their bond with their humans is profound, a connection that only those who live in rural communities truly understand. They don't need words. Their trust and loyalty are unquestionable. In the darkness of the forest, amid the cold winds and the faint light from the flashlights, these dogs remain, unwavering, unrelenting. Even though this battle may never have a clear-cut conclusion, day after day, the people of Texas continue to fight. The fight against wild boars is an essential part of their lives, not just to protect their crops, but to safeguard their communities and their way of life. These hunters aren't just boar hunters. They're protectors of life, defenders of the environment, and guardians of their land. As night falls and the stars twinkle over Texas, the hunters sit back, sip their coffee, and reflect on what they've just experienced. They never see this as a game. For them, hunting wild boars is a responsibility, a crucial part of the life they've chosen. It's a life full of hardship and challenges, but also one filled with pride. For them, every hunt is not just about taking down a wild animal. It's a fight to maintain the balance between man and nature. A victory is not just about the boars being eliminated. It's about preserving harmony between humans and the natural world. It's about ensuring that hunters and farmers can continue to live in the wild world they cherish. And then, the most nerve-wracking moment arrived. The wild boars were cornered in an open space, a vast clearing deep in the woods with no way out. The hunters took their positions, gripping their rifles tightly, their eyes scanning every movement in the darkness. All that remained now was the sound of heavy breathing and the rustling of leaves beneath the wild boar's hooves. Despite years of experience, the hunters couldn't help but feel the familiar surge of tension and anticipation. One wrong move, 1 second of distraction, could lead to dangerous consequences. Wild boars, with their sharp tusks and superior strength, could turn around and attack the hunters or the hunting dogs at any moment. This was not just a physical battle. It was a psychological one, where each hunter had to face the deepest fears within themselves. The wild boars are relentless fighters. They never give up easily. When cornered, these creatures will fight to the death to protect their lives. This is when the hunter's resolve and courage are truly tested. The experienced hunters know that absolute focus is crucial for success. Especially in this moment, any small mistake could lead to a tragic outcome. Wild boars, with their muscular bodies and sharp tusks, could seriously injure or even kill anyone who isn't careful. A single slip-up could cost not only the hunters but also their loyal canine companions dearly. The hunting dogs are indispensable allies in every hunt. Though exhausted, their bodies worn out from a long day of tracking, the loyalty and determination in their eyes never fades. They are always ready to charge into battle, always watching the hunter's every move, never leaving their side. And when the sound of a gunshot echoes in the dark, signaling the end of the hunt, it's not just a simple conclusion. A gunshot rings out in the forest, marking the end of the hunt. But this is not the simple victory the hunters had hoped for. These hunters aren't just chasing wild boars for personal gain or trophies. For them, it's a higher calling, a battle not only to protect crops but to protect their families and livelihoods. They understand that each hunt isn't just about killing a wild animal. It's about maintaining the balance between man and nature. It's their responsibility to the land they live on and nurture, to the community, and to their loved ones. However, this battle doesn't end when the wild boar is taken down. After each hunt, the hunters look back at the fields that have been devastated. These are the lands they've worked tirelessly to cultivate for an entire season. Fields of corn, barley, or lush vegetable gardens now left in ruins. The scratch marks on the trees, the overturned earth are scars left behind by the boars, a grim reminder of the destruction they cause. Wild boars don't just attack crops. They also bring with them public health risks. Diseases like African swine fever or leptospirosis can spread from wild animals to livestock, and in some cases, they can pose a threat to humans. This danger is not something distant. It's an immediate threat, one that forces people living in these areas to constantly stay on high alert. We can't forget the hunting dogs, the unsung warriors in this fight. Despite their exhaustion after a long day of chasing wild boars, they never leave the hunter's side, always loyal, always ready for the next battle. These are warriors who don't seek glory. They just need a glance from their masters, and they're ready to dive into the next battle. It's the bond between man and animal, a connection so deep that only those living in rural communities can truly understand. It's a silent friendship, with no promises spoken, but filled with unwavering trust and loyalty. In the darkness of the woods, amidst the cold wind and the faint glow of flashlights, the hunting dogs remain there, tireless, relentless. Even though this battle may never have a clear resolution, day after day, the people of Texas continue to fight. The fight against wild boars is an essential part of their lives, not just to protect their crops, but to protect their communities and their way of life. These hunters are not just wild boar hunters. They are protectors of life, defenders of the environment, and guardians of their land. As night falls and the stars begin to twinkle over Texas, the hunters sit back, sipping their coffee, reflecting on what they've just experienced. They never see this as a game. For them, hunting wild boars is a responsibility. It's a part of the life they've chosen, a life filled with challenges, but also full of pride. For them, every hunt is not just about taking down a wild animal. It's a fight to maintain the balance between man and nature. A victory is not just about the wild boar being taken down. It's about preserving the harmony between humans and the natural world. It's about ensuring that hunters and farmers can continue to live in the wild world they cherish. Thank you all for standing shoulder to shoulder with us in this fight. Last week, an outbreak of African swine fever swept through our farms like a wildfire, wiping out every pig in our livestock pens across multiple properties. The financial hit was staggering, losses estimated at over $10,000, but the real pain cut deeper. For dozens of farming families in our close-knit rural community, this wasn't just about money. It was about survival, about the future of the land we've worked for generations. As we scrambled to understand how this disaster struck, the truth emerged. Wild hogs, those relentless carriers of the deadly virus, had infiltrated our farming zones. These beasts roamed unchecked through thick forests, slipped past our fences, and left devastation in their wake. We couldn't just sit back and let everything we built collapse. We farmers, hunters, neighbors had to act, and we had to act now. At first light, as the sun peeked over the rolling hills, hunters from every corner of the county gathered at the edge of the forest. The air was crisp, heavy with the scent of pine, damp earth, and fallen leaves, a mix of tranquility and tension that set the stage for what was to come. Ancient oaks and towering pines loomed overhead, their branches knitting a canopy that filtered the dawn's glow into a patchwork of light and shadow. We checked our gear with practiced hands, rifles cleaned, ammo loaded, knives sharpened, while swapping quiet words of resolve. The stakes were clear. This wasn't just a hunt. It was a mission to protect our way of life. Then we unleashed our hunting dogs, those fierce, four-legged allies whose instincts were as sharp as our own. With a chorus of eager barks, they tore into the underbrush, noses to the ground, tracking the faint traces of their prey. Within minutes, their howls pierced the forest silence, a signal that they'd found the hogs' hideout. The wild hogs, flushed from their lair, erupted from the brush in a chaotic stampede, charging straight toward our position. instinct took over. We raised our rifles, eyes narrowed, fingers steady on the triggers, every sense honed to the moment. The first shots cracked through the air, sharp and deafening, and the forest exploded into a whirlwind of motion. Hogs scattered, their hooves churning the earth, kicking up clouds of dust and leaves in a frantic bid for escape. It felt like a scene straight out of a Hollywood blockbuster, every heartbeat pulsing with the thrill of life or death stakes. Then, out of the chaos, a massive boar, its eyes blazing with primal fury, barreled toward us, tusks gleaming like daggers in the dim light. We met it with a hail of bullets, each shot a calculated strike. Wounded, the beast faltered, its legs buckling as it skidded across the dirt, leaving a dark streak of blood on the forest floor. Our dogs, relentless and fearless, surged forward, their jaws clamping down to finish the job with brutal efficiency. This forest, with its dense thickets and towering trees, was a perfect sanctuary for the hogs. Tangled vines, overgrown ferns, and rocky outcrops gave them endless places to hide, but they couldn't outwit the keen noses of our hounds. As the chase intensified, a handful of hogs burst from the undergrowth, followed closely by the rest of the herd. Their grunts and squeals mingled with the relentless crack of gunfire as we opened fire, each bullet tearing through the air with deadly precision. But these weren't easy targets. Some hogs were built like tanks, tough, stubborn, and fiercely aggressive. I found myself squeezing the trigger 3, even 4 times to bring one down, my pulse racing with each shot. Though we couldn't take out the entire herd, the bodies piling up were proof of our team's grit and determination. Just as I was cursing the ones that slipped away, a shadow lunged from the trees. The lead boar, craftier than the rest, hadn't joined the panicked flight of its kin. Instead, it had slunk into the dense brush, moving like a ghost, trying to vanish into the forest's heart. But we knew these animals too well. Their cunning was no match for our experience. From a rocky perch high on the ridge, I steadied my rifle, lining up the shot with care. I aimed for the sweet spot just behind its ear, a kill zone I'd hit countless times before. I exhaled, squeezed the trigger, and the rifle kicked against my shoulder. The shot echoed, crisp and final. The boar staggered, its legs giving out as it tumbled down the slope, its bristly hide scraping against rocks and roots. It lay still moments later, a testament to our resolve. That kill wasn't just about one animal. It was about striking a blow for every farmer who'd lost their herd, every family staring down an uncertain future. With the herd's path now clear, we split into smaller squads, each group fanning out to cover a different section of the forest. Every step was measured, every glance sharp, as we navigated the uneven terrain. A sudden rustle in the bushes snapped me to attention. I raised my rifle, heart pounding, scanning the shadows for movement. Was it the wind or something heavier? Then I saw them. A handful of hogs, stragglers who thought they'd escaped the chaos, ambling along without a care. Their complacency was a fatal mistake. There was no room for hesitation. I took aim, and a series of precise shots rang out, each one finding its mark. The hogs dropped, one after another, their bodies thudding against the earth. In just a few minutes, the herd that had spread disease and ravaged our crops was wiped out, a small but significant victory in our ongoing war. On our way back to the rally point, my buddy David spotted a familiar shape slipping through the trees below. A lone hog, separated from its pack, was trying to melt into the shadows. We didn't need words to know what came next. We gauged its trajectory, adjusted our approach, and gave chase, our boots crunching over pine needles and twigs. Each move was deliberate, one misstep, and it could disappear into the wilderness. As the hog broke into a run, I fired, landing a clean shot to its flank, then another to be sure. It collapsed, its momentum carrying it a few feet before it lay still. The chase had been intense, leaving us winded but triumphant. As I caught my breath, I felt a surge of pride, not just for the kill, but for what it represented. We were fighting for our land, our livelihoods, and the legacy of those who'd worked this soil before us. Wild hogs aren't just a nuisance for farmers. They're a scourge on the entire region. Day and night, folks live in constant dread of their fields being torn to shreds, their trash cans toppled, and their cars smashing into these beasts on dark country roads. With their explosive breeding rates, hogs leave a trail of destruction wherever they go. Cornfields trampled, vegetable gardens uprooted, even suburban lawns churned into mud. They don't fear humans. If anything, they'll charge with a ferocity that can rattle even the most seasoned hunter. Local authorities are out of their depth. Their budgets and manpower no match for the hog's relentless spread. Residents are at their wits' end, their frustration boiling over into desperation. That's where we come in, hunters, neighbors, ordinary people stepping up to do what needs to be done. The most epic wild hog hunt of 2025 started right here, in the untamed heart of this sprawling forest. Seasoned hunters converged at the base of the mountain, gearing up with rifles, ammo, and an unshakable sense of purpose. We spread out, claiming strategic spots along the ridges where we could see clear down to the valley below. The barking of our dogs grew louder, a relentless drumbeat that told us the hogs were on the move. Then, there it was, a hulking hog, its coarse hide catching the sunlight, scrambling in a blind panic to escape. I didn't hesitate. I raised my rifle, sighted it, and fired. The shot was dead on, dropping the beast before it could take another step. Following the dog's cries, I caught another hog in my crosshairs, its silhouette weaving through the trees. I kept firing, each shot swift and sure, bringing it down with ease. From my vantage point, I scanned the terrain, my senses dialed to 11. Before long, I spotted a hog limping through a cluster of brittle trees at the valley's edge. It was a long shot, beyond the range of a casual hunter, but I knew I wouldn't get a second chance. I steadied my breathing, aligned my scope, and squeezed the trigger. The rifle's recoil jolted my shoulder, and a heartbeat later, the hog crumpled, its body slamming into the dirt. A mix of shock, adrenaline, and pride surged through me. That wasn't a fluke. It was years of practice, a steady hand, and the guts to take the shot. I moved cautiously through the underbrush, each step silent, my ears tuned to every snap of a twig. Peering through a gap in the foliage, I saw a hog that had strayed from the herd, oblivious to the danger closing in. I gave chase, narrowing the distance, and when it was in my sights, I fired. The shot was clean and the hog went down. Everything was clicking, a textbook start to a hunt that felt destined for success. But the hunt was far from over. After a grueling chase, the herd splintered, scattering in every direction. I repositioned to a dense thicket, setting up an ambush with a clear view of a game trail. Time dragged, each second heavy with anticipation. Sweat dripped down my face, but I stayed patient, knowing that patience is what separates a good hunter from a great one. Then, without warning, a hog burst from the brush, its hoofs pounding like a drum. My reflexes kicked in. A single, sharp shot echoed through the trees, and the hog collapsed, dead before it hit the ground. It was a perfect ambush, fast, clean, and final. In a forest this rich, hogs are experts at disappearing. They weave through creeks, duck under fallen logs, and melt into thickets where the light barely reaches. But I knew they couldn't hide forever. I kept searching, my eyes sweeping every shadow. A dark shape darted past, and gunfire erupted. I found fresh tracks, torn up soil, snapped branches, and followed them. A small group of hogs wandered into a clearing, moving lazily as if they owned the place. A few precise shots later, they were down, their bodies sprawled across the grass. Another ambush, executed with surgical precision, exactly how I like it. Hours of relentless hunting took their toll. Our legs felt like lead, our breaths came in ragged gasps, but our resolve never wavered. We paused by a trickling creek, the water's soft murmur a brief reprieve from the chaos. But just as we let our guard down, more hogs appeared, slinking through the dense foliage like ghosts. We snapped into action, flushing them from their cover. As a few broke into the open, I raised my rifle and fired. The shots were quick and deadly, leaving no room for error. The hogs were fast, their instincts sharp, but our experience and calm under pressure gave them no chance. In the forest's maze, hogs would dart between trees, using every trick to shake us. But we stayed relentless, chasing, flanking, striking at every opportunity. Each hog that fell was a small triumph, not just for us, but for the farmers whose fields had been ruined, the kids playing near the woods, and the drivers navigating rural highways at dusk. This was bigger than a hunt. It was about reclaiming our land, our peace, our future. As the sun sank low, bathing the forest in a golden glow, we gathered at the rendezvous point. We counted our kills, swapped stories of near misses and perfect shots, and let the day's weight settle over us. Exhaustion mingled with pride in every weathered face. We'd struck a blow against the hogs, but we knew the fight wasn't over. They'd keep breeding, keep destroying, and we'd keep answering the call. Rifles ready, hearts steady. For now, though, we'd won a battle not just for ourselves, but for the land we call home. The scorching heat of the Anatolian mountains clings to every breath, a relentless force that tests the will of anyone daring to step into this wild land. Over years of hunting, through countless dangers, one memory stands etched in my soul, a moment that still sends shivers down my spine. It was the breathtaking face-off with a massive wild boar, a creature of raw, untamed power. I was with Mehmet, my closest friend and a seasoned hunter, a man who knows these mountains like the back of his hand. What started as a routine boar control hunt, well, it turned into something else entirely. Nature, you see, has a way of humbling us all. Anatolia's dense oak forests and endless wheat fields breed boars unlike any other giants nurtured by the land's bounty. Mehmet crouched low, studying fresh tracks in the damp earth, broken branches, scattered droppings. His eyes narrowed. "There's a leader out there," he whispered, "and it's huge." His words hit me like a jolt. My heart raced. This wasn't just a hunt anymore. It felt like a challenge, a test of courage set by the wilderness itself. We split up, taking positions along familiar forest paths. I crouched behind a massive rock, my back against an ancient oak, my breath steady, my senses sharp. The forest was alive, leaves rustling, birds calling faintly. I checked my rifle, fingers grazing the trigger, ready for whatever came next. But deep down, a flicker of unease stirred. I'd hunted before, but something about this felt different. Then, a gunshot echoed from Mehmet's position, a sharp crack that shattered the silence. My pulse surged. Adrenaline flooded my veins. I gripped my rifle tighter, eyes locked on the path ahead. Moments later, there it was. A colossal boar stepped out from the brush. Its black coat gleamed under the dappled sunlight. Its curved tusks glinted like blades. And those eyes, they didn't flinch. They stared at me, curious, almost defiant. Time froze. My heart pounded so loud I thought it might betray me. The boar took a step forward, then another. Each thud of its hooves sent a tremor through the ground. It was closing the gap, and with every second, I felt the danger grow. If I didn't act, I'd be the prey. My instincts screamed. I raised my rifle, aimed, and fired. The shot tore through the stillness. The boar staggered, then collapsed, its massive body limp on the forest floor. I exhaled, my breath shaky, relief washing over me like a wave. I'd done it, but only just. Before I could catch my breath, Mehmet's voice crackled through the radio. "More of them out there. Stay put." My heart leapt again. I held my ground, eyes scanning the path. Minutes later, another boar appeared, just as massive as the first. Its tusks gleamed, its bulk casting a shadow across the trail. But this time I was ready. The fear was still there, but experience steadied my hands. I took a deep breath, aimed, and fired. The shot was clean. The boar lurched, then tumbled down the mountainside, a cascade of earth and branches trailing behind it. That moment, it's burned into me. Standing there, rifle in hand, I felt a mix of triumph and awe. The forest had tested me, and I'd survived. But more than that, it taught me respect for the raw power of these creatures, and for the untamed heart of Anatolia itself. The Anatolian forest, with its towering oaks and unrelenting heat, it never lets you rest. After facing down 2 monstrous boars, Mehmet and I stood in the heart of the wilderness, our breaths heavy, our hearts still racing. But the forest doesn't care about your victories. It's always watching, always waiting. The boars here aren't just big. They're fierce, cunning, built like tanks with hides that laugh at ordinary bullets. We knew the hunt was far from over, and every step forward was a dance with danger. Mehmet signaled me to move. We regrouped, our eyes scanning the ground for signs. Deep hoof prints, snapped twigs, fresh droppings. Every mark was a clue, a story written in the earth. Mehmet read it like a book. "They're close," he said, his voice low, steady. I nodded, gripping my rifle tighter. The air felt heavier now, like the forest itself was holding its breath. Suddenly, a massive shape burst from the underbrush. Another boar, as big as the others, its black coat shimmering, its tusks curved like scythes. It didn't run. It stood its ground, head lowered, ready to charge. Mehmet didn't hesitate. His shot rang out, sharp, precise. The boar collapsed, its bulk shaking the earth. We cheered, a brief burst of triumph. But we knew better than to relax. The forest was still alive with threats. Our hunting dogs, loyal, fearless. They didn't stop. They tore through the brush, noses to the ground, ears alert. Minutes later, their barks echoed from deep in the forest, urgent, fierce. Mehmet's eyes met mine. "They've got another one. Let's go." We ran, dodging thorns, leaping over rocks, our hearts pounding. When we reached them, the sight stopped me cold. The dogs had cornered a giant boar, bigger than any we'd seen. Its hide was like armor, its tusks glinted like knives, and its eyes burned with defiance. Snarled, ready to tear into the dogs. We didn't give it the chance. Our shots rang out together, and the beast fell, the forest falling silent around it. These boars, they're something else. Bigger, tougher than anything we'd hunted before. Their hides are so thick, regular bullets barely scratch them. We use large caliber rifles, weapons made for beasts that seem almost invincible. But it's not just their strength. It's their smarts, their aggression. Every hunt is a battle, a test of skill, focus, and nerve. We pressed on, tracking the boars through their trails, hoofprints and droppings guiding us. Mehmet picked a perfect ambush spot, a narrow path where the boars often passed. We hid in the brush, barely breathing, waiting. The minutes dragged on, each one heavy with anticipation. Then movement. A group of boars appeared, their massive bodies moving fast. I aimed and fired. One went down, but another charged forward, bigger, angrier, like it knew its kin had fallen. I fired again, and it rolled down the hillside, a trail of dust in its wake. From that same spot, I faced another, this one fleeing our dogs. Those dogs, they're brave, relentless, but fragile against a boar's wrath. I've seen them hurt before, torn by tusks in a split-second mistake. So I kept my distance, 150 yards, the sweet spot for safety and precision. My shot was true. The boar dropped, and I exhaled, knowing I'd protected my team, my dogs. As the sun dipped low, we moved to the farms near the hills. The harvested fields were a playground for boars, their herds racing across the open ground. They're fast, too fast. You have to aim true or you miss. Hiding in the tall grass, we watched them come, their heavy steps shaking the earth. I lined up my shot, breathed, and fired. An adult boar fell clean, perfect. As the light faded, we gathered our haul. A pile of giants, each one a reminder of the forest's power and our hard-won victories. This wasn't just a hunt. It was a lesson in patience, in strategy, in respect. Every boar we took down was a fight, and every fight reminded us that in Anatolia's wild heart, we're just visitors, facing creatures as fierce as the land itself. Under the gray skies of Wisconsin, where thick forests hug sprawling farms, I never imagined I'd become a hunter. But wild boars, those relentless invaders, they forced my hand. I'm not here for sport. I'm a farmer, fighting to protect my land, my crops, my life. 2 years ago, these beasts started tearing through my fields, ripping up soil, destroying harvests, costing me thousands. Each ruined acre broke my heart, not just for the loss, but for the helplessness I felt. So I picked up a rifle, not for glory, but for survival. Wild boars aren't native here. They came to America centuries ago, mixed with domestic pigs, and thrived. Warmer winters, climate shifts, they've pushed north, claiming places like Wisconsin as their own. Every week, we hunt them in the woods by my farm, a ritual born of necessity. I never thought I'd be a professional boar hunter, but when your livelihood's at stake, you do what you have to. The first time I faced a boar here, it was different from Anatolia. In the dense Wisconsin woods, among tangled brush and rugged hills, a massive boar emerged like a ghost. Its rough coat bristled, its tusks gleamed, and its eyes locked onto me with sharp awareness. My heart pounded, not just from its size, but from knowing this creature could ruin everything I'd built. I gripped my rifle, steadied my hands, and waited. When it paused, sniffing the air, I fired. The shot echoed, and the biggest boar dropped, its kin scattering into the shadows. I stood there, breathless, victory and fear tangled together. Wisconsin's terrain is a boar's paradise. Thick forests, hidden streams, hills that shield them from sight. They're masters of hiding, and if you're a farmer, waiting is not an option. Let them linger and your crops are gone. A friend, Hanner, a Belgian American with years of experience, gave me a tip. They stick to trails when they feed, he said, his voice calm, confident. Ambush them there. His advice became our playbook. We scouted the trails, found their tracks, and waited. One afternoon, as golden light bathed the forest, we spotted a herd charging down a trail. Their massive bodies moved like a storm. I crouched low, my breath barely a whisper. When the lead boar stopped, sensing something, I knew it was now or never. I aimed and fired, fell, and our cheers broke the silence. But these boars, they're smart. They feel danger coming, and they bolt fast as lightning. Every shot has to count. Every moment has to be perfect. As dusk settled, we switched tactics. We set bait traps at the forest's edge, piles of corn to lure them in. Hiding in the shadows, we watched a herd arrive, their snouts buried in the feed, oblivious. My partner and I locked eyes, nodded, and aimed for the fattest boar, a giant that could have crushed a tractor. Our shots rang out together, and it dropped clean. Another, too careless, fell to a single bullet. Their guard was down, and we seized the chance. As night crept in, we decided on one last hunt. A herd appeared, so focused on eating they didn't see us. I lined up my shot, slow, steady, and fired. The boar collapsed, and our shouts echoed through the dark. The hunt ended as the stars came out. We gathered our haul, a stack of massive boars, each one a threat erased. But staring into the black forest, I knew we'd be back. There are too many out there, and this fight's far from over. Standing in the moonlight, my farm's warm lights glowing in the distance, I felt the weight of it all. These boars, they're not just animals. They're chaos, a force that can tear your life apart. Everyone we take down is a small win, but it's a war that demands grit, teamwork, and resolve. Wisconsin might be their haven, but I'll make it their reckoning. for my land, my family, and everything we've fought to keep. Tucked away on the dusty outskirts of Austin, Texas, where endless cornfields ripple like a golden sea under a scorching sun, Farm Share ain't just a farm. It's a goddamn treasure. Not one of those glitzy corporate spreads with gleaming tractors and fancy irrigation systems, but a scrappy, soulful place run by a nonprofit with a heart bigger than the Lone Star State itself. It's a training ground for greenhorn farmers, folks with dirt under their nails and dreams in their eyes, learning to sow seeds, coax life from the soil, and turn backbreaking work into bountiful harvests. More than that, Farm Share's a lifeline, hauling free veggies and hope to the struggling families of East Austin and Travis County, filling empty bellies and sparking weary smiles. Every ear of corn, every sweet potato, carries a promise. Nobody goes hungry on Farm Share's watch. At the helm is Casey Frank, a weathered, middle-aged fella with salt and pepper hair and a grin warm as a summer afternoon. Casey's the kind of guy who'd give you the shirt off his back, then crack a cold beer and tell you a story. He used to teach biology in a stuffy classroom, but he traded chalkboards for plowshares, pouring every ounce of his soul into Farm Share. To him, it's more than dirt and crops. It's a vision of a world where everyone's got a seat at the table and the land's loved like family. Right beside him is Lynn, a young Vietnamese-American woman, fresh out of college with fire in her heart and a tattered notebook stuffed with scribbled notes on soil pH and planting cycles. Lynn's got a quiet intensity, her dark eyes always scanning the fields, dreaming up ways to make the next harvest better. For her, Farm Share ain't just a job. It's where her roots are sinking deep, a place that feels like home after years of searching for where she belongs. Summer of 2022, Farm Share was pure magic. Rows of sweet potatoes shimmered emerald green, corn stalks stood tall like proud sentinels, and chubby pumpkins hid shyly under their leafy blankets. The air buzzed with the hum of cicadas and the sweet, earthy scent of turned soil. Lynn had a ritual. Every evening, she'd wander to the field's edge, her boots crunching on dry grass, and watch the sunset paint the crops in hues of amber and rose. Standing there, the breeze tugging at her ponytail, she'd whisper to herself, "This is paradise. This is what it's all about." Her heart swelled with pride, knowing every stalk and vine was feeding folks who needed it most. But that paradise, bathed in golden light, was about to be torn apart by monsters lurking under the silver glow of the moon. One fateful morning, Casey and Lynn headed out to check the fields, their boots kicking up dust in the early light. They stopped dead in their tracks, hearts sinking like stones. A whole section of the farm, vibrant with sweet potatoes just the day before, looked like a war zone. Dirt churned up like a tornado had hit, crops trampled into the mud, and gaping pits big as washtubs scarring the land. Lynn dropped to her knees, her hands trembling as she picked up a half-eaten sweet potato, its flesh torn and dirt-stained. Tears stung her eyes, her voice cracking with a mix of rage and despair. "What the hell did this, Casey?" Casey crouched beside her, his jaw tight, eyes narrowing as he studied the massive hoofprints stamped deep in the soil. Not who, Lynn, what? Feral hogs. In Texas, feral hogs are the stuff of nightmares. These ain't your cute barnyard piglets. They're the mean, tough-as-nails descendants of Spanish hogs brought over in the 1500s. Now a full-blown invasive plague. They breed faster than roaches, outsmart most hunters, and wreck everything without a shred of mercy. To Texans, feral hogs aren't just animals. They're a curse straight out of hell. That night, Casey and Lynn weren't about to let those beasts win. They steeled themselves, grabbed flashlights and binoculars, and climbed into an old, rickety truck parked at the farm's edge. Under the eerie glow of a full moon, they waited, the silence broken only by the chirp of crickets and their own shallow breaths. Then it came, a low, guttural grunt, the crunch of earth being torn up, and the rustle of leaves. Lynn's heart pounded like a drum, her fingers gripping Casey's arm so tight it hurt. Through the binoculars, they saw them, 6 massive feral hogs, each one built like a motorcycle, with coarse, bristly hair and eyes glinting like cold steel in the dark. They rooted, chomped, and stomped through the fields, leaving a trail of destruction. In just one night, those hogs obliterated 0.08 hectares of crops, wiping out over 900 kilos of sweet potatoes, corn, and pumpkins. The lifeblood farm share relied on to feed the community. Lynn stared at the carnage, her chest tightening, feeling like her dreams, her home, were being crushed under those monstrous hooves. "We've got to do something, Casey," she whispered, her voice fierce with determination. "We can't let these bastards win." The next morning, Casey rallied the whole farm share crew, his voice booming with the fire of a man who'd had enough. "Listen up, folks. These hogs think they can run us over, but they've picked the wrong fight. This ain't just about crops. It's about our community, our dream. Who's ready to take them down?" The team nodded, fists clenched, but everyone knew feral hogs were no pushovers. These weren't just strong. They were cunning, the kind of cunning that made seasoned hunters curse and throw in the towel. Word around was if one hog escaped a trap, the whole pack learned to dodge it forever. But Lynn, her spirit burning brighter than ever, stepped up. "I've got an idea. Hogs love sweet stuff, right? Let's build a trap and lure them in." She'd read somewhere that feral hogs go wild for corn and honey. Casey gave her a nod, though worry creased his brow. Farm share scraped together every penny they had, money meant for new seeds, and bought a massive metal trap. Lynn dove in, mixing up a bait so sweet it could tempt a saint. Corn soaked in fermented beer, sugar, and fruity jelly, its aroma so heavenly even she was tempted to take a bite. That night, they set the trap smack in the middle of the hog's favorite stomping ground. Casey and Lynn hunkered down in the truck, nerves jangling like they were in a horror flick. As the moon rose, the hogs came. Leading the pack was a beast so huge it seemed carved from nightmares. Black as coal, tusks sharp as daggers, and a presence that screamed trouble. Lynn dubbed it Black King in her head, 'cause it strutted like the ruler of all feral hogs. Black King sniffed the bait, edging closer, but then froze, lifting its head like it smelled a trick. The whole pack went still, eyeing the trap like it was a snake ready to strike. Then, as if laughing in their faces, Black King sidestepped the trap, leading the others to gobble up the bait without tripping the lever. Come morning, Casey and Lynn found an empty trap, nothing but a few sparrows pecking at leftover crumbs. "Those sons of bitches played us," Casey growled, tossing his hat into the dirt. Lynn, though, wasn't done. Her blood boiled, but she grabbed her notebook, scribbling down every detail. When the hogs showed up, how they moved, even Black King's grunts. "If they're smart, we'll just have to be smarter," she said, her eyes blazing with defiance. The days that followed were brutal. The hogs didn't let up, tearing through the fields like a wrecking crew, even ripping up the irrigation pipes and leaving the farm bone dry. Another pumpkin patch bit the dust, and the team's morale started to crack. Some volunteers talked about quitting, but Lynn wouldn't hear it. She thought of her grandma back in Vietnam, who used to say, "Strength don't beat smarts." Hogs got hooves, Lynn told herself, but we've got brains. She hatched a plan so wild it made Casey's jaw drop. Forget one trap. They'd lure the whole pack into a natural corral, a corner of the farm backed by a rocky hill where they could rig up temporary fences. Lynn had read that hogs run in straight lines when spooked. She pitched using every last kernel of corn in the barn to make a bait trail from the fields to the hill. But she wasn't stopping there. She wanted to go big. Lynn had recorded the hogs' grunts from previous nights and planned to blast them through a speaker at the far end, tricking the pack into thinking other hogs were chowing down. If they smell food and hear their buddies, they won't suspect a thing, she explained, her voice brimming with conviction. Casey stared at her, half in awe, half terrified. Kid, if this flops, we're done for. But he gave the green light, calling in a crew of professional hunters from nearby just in case it all went south. FarmShare poured everything into it, setting up steel mesh fences along the bait trail, leading to a rocky enclosure reinforced with stone and netting. The big night came. Lynn spread corn and sweet bait along the trail, the speaker blaring hog grunts into the distance. Casey, Lynn, the volunteers, and the hunters crouched behind bushes, holding their breath. The full moon lit up the fields like a spotlight, setting the stage for a showdown. Then the hogs arrived. Black King strode in front, proud as a general, its massive frame casting a shadow that sent chills down Lynn's spine. It sniffed the corn, wary, pausing just shy of the trail. Lynn, hidden nearby, felt sweat trickle down her face, her heart screaming, "Come on, Black King, don't screw this up." Then, as if hypnotized by the grunts and the sugary scent, Black King took the bait, stepping onto the trail. The pack followed, tearing into the corn, charging deeper into the fenced path. When the last hog crossed into the enclosure, Casey gave the signal. The hunters yanked the ropes, dropping a heavy net to seal the exit. The hogs went berserk, squealing and slamming into the fences. Black King roared, stabbing at the net with its tusks, but the stone walls and steel held firm. Lynn let out a scream of joy, tears streaming down her face. Casey clapped her on the shoulder, his laugh echoing through the night. "Kid, you're a freaking genius." That night, FarmShare partied hard, gathered around a roaring bonfire, cracking beers and reliving the moment they bagged Black King. But they all knew this was just one battle won. Texas was crawling with millions more feral hogs, and those beasts weren't going anywhere. Come morning, the hunters hauled the hogs to a ranch in Florida, where they'd be raised and processed into meat, turning a menace into something useful. FarmShare, battered but unbroken, learned how to fight back. Casey planted thorny hedges and installed motion sensors to keep the hogs at bay. Lynn, her notebook now a battle journal, started sharing their tactics with other farms. She became a hero, not just at FarmShare but across Austin. The real victory wasn't the crops. It was the spirit they forged. Lynn, once a shy kid, now inspired everyone around her. Hogs can ruin fields, she told the team, her voice steady and proud, but they can't touch our dreams. The tale of that moonlit night at FarmShare spread through Texas, a legend of a little farm that stood tall against a pack of monsters.